This is the Mannin Line on location.
Faster Mai, good afternoon. We're live at the Royal Manx Agricultural Show at Knockaloe today. A little breezy, but a gorgeous day. Lots of blue sky and lots of sunshine. Everybody's saying 24 hours ago, everybody was keeping their fingers crossed. But it's a gorgeous day today. If you're making your way to the show, lots and lots of stalls here, lots of skeet going round. I've heard about 6 rumours already, but I'm sharing none of them with you. With us today, people from the Beach Buddies are here, Manx National Farmers Union, DEFA. We've got Isle of Man Meats, the Creamery and Conister Bank, and we're live on Knockaloe for Mannin Line. And first of all today, Finlay McLeod's with us from the Creamery. Finlay, it's been 12 months since we last chatted. How's the Creamery nowadays?
We're doing very well, thanks. We've got some nice new business that's been agreed for some customers in the UK for the last quarter of this year, and we've got a new agent in the US, and they've managed to get us into a couple of new retail customers in the States as well. So things are looking good. You say that,
well, if you say that quickly, it sounds easy to do, but I'm sure it's not.
It's a lot of groundwork to start off these pieces of business. Finding the right agent that's going to represent you well in a market like the US, and somebody who's going to be really focused on your product. And we found somebody who's been to the island. They've brought their whole sales team across here. We showed them the farms, showed them around the factory, showed them through our quality and technical management systems. They were really impressed with the business, literally from the farm through to the factory, and they've got really behind our business.
And how long have you been boss of the Creamery now, Finlay?
How long have I been at the Creamery?
The boss. How long have you been?
About 150 years now. 24 years.
24 years. You are obviously doing something right. Things are going well. Let's make the first point. It's a cooperative.
It is very much a cooperative. So, 28 dairy farmers own the business, and I report to a board consisting of 5 dairy farmers.
Okay.
Very, very much owned, operated, and for the benefit of the farmers.
It seems like the Creamery has gone nowhere but up. It just seems to go from success to success.
I think it's not without its challenges. Obviously, we're not immune to the ups and downs of the wider dairy industry. We've seen some incredible volatility in the last 3-4 years. We've seen prices go up 60-70% on the commodity market. We still sell quite a lot of commodity cheese in the 20 kilo block format, but then we've seen it drop just as quickly, in fact more quickly. But things on that side of the business are beginning to improve, and we're seeing prices rise in the second half of this year.
How did you get into Tesco?
How did we get into Tesco?
Yeah.
Originally in the UK. In the UK, it was just by knocking on the door and telling about our products, telling them the story of the Isle of Man, letting them taste the product, let them see the branding that we've done, and selling the positioning of the product in their existing range and where it could fit in with them.
Ian Parsons is here from the Manx NFU. So Ian, tell us a tale about why are you giving potatoes away today?
We've got a significant quantity of potatoes to give away today. That's probably a knock-on from reduced local sales. These potatoes were grown originally for the ShopRite group. Obviously we've seen a reduction whilst Tesco's are selling Manx vegetables. We've seen a reduction in sales from them. We've seen one potato grower in the south of the island cease production, and another significant vegetable grower in the north has seen his sales drop by 50%. Though we shouldn't just single out Tesco's. Well, Tesco's, they obviously are a good supporter of the Creamery, and they are selling some vegetables. We've got 2 other major supermarkets in the Isle of Man, in the Co-op and Marks and Spencer's, that you wouldn't be able to buy any local vegetables in. So we it's just at that stage where access to market and getting products to market and getting the consumers.
How come you can't get into? I mean, the co-op badges itself as ethical. Why? How come you can't get into the co-op?
I would say there's virtually, with the exception of dairy products, I would say there's probably zero Manx products in the co-op.
You said a couple of weeks ago that that the fruit and veg industry on the Isle of Man is in danger.
Absolutely, we've seen one supplier in the south of the island that had over 50 years in the potato industry has announced to their customers that they were no longer growing spuds. Allinson's vegetables there in the north, they'll be the only significant commercial grower of all different types of vegetables in the Isle of Man. And at the moment, sales have reduced. Whilst we've got the likes of Balapaddock that are great supporters. And talks are ongoing with Tesco's at ways that we can increase volume through the Tesco's stores. Ultimately, I just urge consumers to ask for local produce, because let's embarrass the supermarkets into making sure they do stock local produce.
Okay, Scott Gallagher's here, Chief Officer at DEFA. Scott, I mean, we've talked about this in the past and the dangers that there are to the agricultural industry. Where does the department fit in this?
Primarily, I see the department as a partner and strong supporter of the agriculture sector, the farmers, and a lot of stakeholders on this island. Ultimately, we want the same that Ian has just been talking about, and also Finlay. We want to see a strong, vibrant, resilient sector that can actually respond to what we're seeing occur in overseas markets and the cost of living crisis that we've got. But ultimately, what we are doing is we are working with the farmers who are wanting access to market. We're working with the union, we're working with others on the island to try to make sure that we can have a far more positive and optimistic future. Clearly, it is some questions at the moment, but we are absolutely committed to working with the farmers and the sector to make sure we do have a positive future.
Do you have leverage with Tesco?
We have ongoing dialogue with our colleagues in Tesco, and since the Tesco ShopRite announcement, probably we've had a couple of key milestones that we need to focus upon. One of the first ones was really working with a lot of the producers to make sure that those who wanted to, we would financially support them to get the third-party accreditation so they could then have the opportunity to be in Tesco. Since then, we're working with all of the producers who are talking to us and want to think about working in the supermarkets in terms of, well, what else can we help them with in terms of whether it's business mentoring or any other aspects to ensure that their route to market can be as seamless as possible.
Okay. What's the story with the ice cream, Scott, today?
Well, look, we're looking at the Royal Show. There's an amazing event here. I'm really proud that we're here. We are here. We have a DEFA marquee with a lot of local producers. We're really proud to be here. We want to thank the Royal Show committee and organisers. This is a fantastic event for the island. There was an opportunity, and we'd been asked if we could maybe have the gelatery in our marquee, but clearly there is a sponsorship arrangement in play, and I would like to apologise for any ructions or any problems that we've caused, whether the Royal Show or the sponsor or even the gelatery. We tried in good faith to try and facilitate something that could have worked to ensure that we had any local producer who wanted to be in our marquee there. Unfortunately, that's not the case. We respect that there is commercial arrangements in play, and again, it's just unfortunate and regret that it's played out in the last 24 hours. We would like to just focus on the future and having an amazing couple of days here, and we are committed to work with any local producers on their aspirations.
Okay, Bill Dale's here from Beach Buddies, still working with all the cruise liners, still getting an international reputation. Bill, is the situation getting any better?
Interesting question, and one I'm asked quite a lot. I would say without question, yes. When we started, I think I've told this story many times about how we were knee-deep in plastic on the beaches, and once we started asking for help, suddenly the whole thing took off. I expected we might get maybe 300 or 400 volunteers, and we're that close to 20,000 different volunteers since we started. And nearly all of those are young people.
It bears repetition, so I'll repeat it. There was a man walking on the beach with his dog, and he spotted some plastic and picked it up. And that was how long ago, Bill?
2006.
Which beach was it?
Balaff Beach.
And the name of the dog was?
There were several. Goldie, Hugo, Nelly.
And this has been a big part of your life ever since.
It has. Well, it's took over my life, really. I mean, I was running a pretty successful PR business and a journalist background and photography, and I pretty much gave it all up because I just felt I've got the opportunity. I've got the sort of background in terms of PR and communication, and I thought just put it to one side. Put my business to one side for a while and give it a go. But it's taken off. What do
people around the world think of it?
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, the cruise ship people can't believe it. I mean, even you think about so-called
Let me explain, by the way.
countries.
Bill is the person who gets people who've paid thousands of pounds to go on cruises to come ashore on the Isle of Man and pick plastic up on beaches. Am I right?
And they pay us a small fee as well. Yeah, it's quite clever, really. I don't quite know how that happened, but yeah, it does.
And tell me, what's their reaction?
Oh, they love it. A lot of them, you can imagine, and it still happens today. When children, I've been to speak to children in school, and they bring mum and dad at the weekend, you can see that mum and dad really don't want to be there, but the kids have said, we want to go litter picking on a beach, so you have to go. And they wander off as a family, and they come back, and the mum and dad have got a smile on their face because they're surprised how much they've enjoyed actually doing something which is positive for the environment.
Well, first of all, it's only 90 minutes or so. It's 10:30 to midday, and that's it. And you provide everything, the litter pickers,
insurance, yeah, we've got everything in place.
Whereabouts are you this weekend?
We're going to come here. On Sunday we clear up after the Southern Show and the Royal, so on Sunday morning we're here at 10:30.
Andy Bass's here from Conister Bank. We talked last year about financing for the agricultural sector. What's the market like, Andy?
I mean, the Isle of Man lending market's been very good. The last 12 months we've broken some records internally. I think we advanced 56 million into the local economy via various different businesses and still carried on supporting agriculture. Within agriculture we look after fertiliser agreements, cattle, plant, machinery. But I probably would say it has dropped off a little bit this year, I have to say. So far, I would say we were down on last year in terms of funding in agriculture. And speaking to various different customers, there's many reasons for that. Some are in a position where they didn't need to borrow, others felt it was difficult for them to borrow, so they've kind of stayed as is.
You'll be in the position often of giving advice to people who want to borrow. I mean, how much is a normal tractor nowadays for the layperson? How much does a tractor cost?
Gracious, I mean, a brand new tractor's definitely over £100,000. Used tractor 50, 70, just depends what you buy really, but there's a real big spread on what people do. I suppose the machinery you buy depends on the farm you have and the landscape of your farm. So
do you reckon that the agricultural sector, and again we talked about the price of fertiliser, what is fertiliser now? How much is it?
Someone would be a better place to say, but I mean it's double what it was about 2 years ago. The price of it is probably double. What we saw was people probably buying half and keeping the amount they borrowed the same. The amount we advanced into the sector was never double. It was becoming too difficult for people to make that purchase, so they maybe had a year off, went a little bit easier with it, tried to save where they could. So ultimately it won't benefit anybody in the long run, but for the short term I think people just tried to take stock.
Yeah, and the fact that Conister Bank is a Manx bank based on the Isle of Man, bottom of Victoria Street, how important is that to the sector? The fact that people can actually talk to people?
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. I mean, I have salespeople working for me across the Isle of Man who are involved in all different sectors, and particularly agriculture. So the farmer, the agricultural contractor, they've got someone to speak to. We'll pop out, we'll have breakfast with them. There's a number of people I've had breakfast with, that's why I'm fat. But yeah, I think it gives them comfort. It's a little bit like people say to me, it's like what banking used to be like, where your bank manager would come out and have a chat with you. And if we can keep it like that and make it easy for people to to have these conversations. I think we'll carry on doing well.
Okay, Kiri Kermode's here from Isle of Man Meats. What's your official position there, Kiri?
So I'm Agricultural Liaison Officer, so I work with the farmers predominantly.
Doing what?
So weekly intake, so we organise the stock to come in each week, so we have pigs, beef and lambs weekly. We have a certain amount that we want to bring in and process each week, governed by our customers and demand.
Okay, how many pig farms are there on the island?
We have two main suppliers of pigs. We do have a number of smallholders who do non-farm assured pigs, so they do their own businesses. You see some of it now in the Great Taste Awards, doing their own products, making their own niche products and selling at farmers markets.
Private pigs?
Private pigs, private businesses.
Private businesses. Yeah. Okay, and how are things at the meat plant has had up and down reputations and what have you. How are things at the moment? People on the outside wonder what happens.
Yeah, change is always difficult. Rebecca Meir was appointed a year ago now, so she's come in and made fundamental changes within the business, within the building, within staff structure, within the layout and compliance and technical. There's a lot of work being done internally to hopefully future-proof the business. We have to have a meat plant that functions well for all parties, and that is the direction of travel that we are going.
Well, Ian, we mentioned with Ian the fact that the vegetables and fruit are bluntly in danger. And the fact is, how safe is the meat plant? Are we going to have a meat plant in 5 years?
The island needs a meat plant one way or another. Livestock numbers are decreasing within the island. There is change within agriculture. The agro-environmental scheme has come in, so people are changing their own businesses at home. So there is a lot more cereal or set aside or herbal A's or different things being done. So the livestock isn't being the forefront of agriculture as much as it used to be. It is important that we have food security. It is important that we look after our livestock producers. So they need a route to market. They need return on their stock that they grow and produce. We need a meat plant that functions and works, and that is where we want to get to.
From the public's point of view, we often hear about food miles, carbon footprint and this, that and the other. It would seem a no-brainer, the fact that we have sheep and lambs, we have our own cattle, we have our own pigs. Surely everything should be gung-ho. We should be eating Manx meat.
Absolutely, and there is demand there. The Manx public do support and want it. The functionality of the plant is getting people recruited into the area so it functions perfectly each week. Recruitment into this industry is difficult. Not many people leave school or university going into the butchery trade. It is a shortfall. We have to upskill people and make it a lucrative industry to come into.
I was going to ask that. How do you get young kids to want to be... does anybody consciously say, would you like to be a slaughterman or that sort of job?
Well, this is it. We've seen since COVID many chefs sort of rethinking their lives. They want to have more social hours, so they've come to the meat plant to work. They use knife skills, and it has benefited within our industry. It is a great industry to be in. You can travel worldwide. There's this technical side, it's compliance side of it. There isn't just necessarily the slaughter side of it. There's a whole meat process and the butchery side. There's challenges all around the world where you can take part in competitions, and you can really be a well-paid person within that industry.
Okay, so do you get to the schools at all? Do you? How on earth do you sell a career in butchery in the meat plant? How do people come and work? Do they get referred by friends, or how do they arrive?
So there is recruitment agencies within the business right across the UK. It's not just an island problem; it is right across the UK.
Oh, is it?
It is very difficult to recruit in. We are doing a lot of work with NVQs, earn as you learn, so that they can benefit. Hands-on trial days. We do the recruitment fairs here on the Isle of Man as well. Recently we have had a lot of young people come through the door, which have been really, really encouraging. Positive mindset is also something. The door is always open to come and try. Okay,
Finlay MacLeod, talking of recruitment as well, how do you make sure that you get enough staff of the right quality at the Creamery?
The first hurdle is to also pay a competitive salary, which we do. We benchmark against other manufacturing and other types of jobs, like driving jobs and that kind of thing. So we make sure that we're one of the better payers for the sector. But it's also about treating people with respect, bringing them up to date with developments in the business on a regular basis, making sure that they're informed about opportunities within the business. So somebody might start off, working as a driver driver, but they can progress within the business into other areas if they want. So there's many aspects of making the jobs attractive. It comes from payment all the way through to how people are spoken to, how people are treated with fairness and with respect in their working lives, and we try and do all of that.
4 years ago, you were almost an emergency service. You know, in the middle of COVID, the fact that the Creamery were delivering was a lifeline to many people. It made people smile. It made people feel that there was somebody human out there as well. And the delivery business boomed, didn't it? How's it going now?
It's still going very well. And thinking back to that time, that was a very hectic time for the business. We onboarded about 2,000 customers in the space of 3 or 4 weeks.
I mean, can you remember that?
I'll never forget it. It was all hands to the tiller at that time. We had to recruit drivers quickly. We had to buy vans quickly, and that was easier said than done during COVID, actually getting vehicles. But the team that we've got are very, very committed, very dedicated, very skilled and knowledgeable as well, and they did a tremendous job getting all of those customers onboarded onto our systems, and also reworking the milk rounds so that we could deliver, and we delivered reliably every day during that period. So it was a tremendous achievement.
We're live at the Knockaloe show today, at the Royal Manx Agricultural Show. Mannin Line is here, talking to Bill Dale and Ian Parsons, Scott Gallagher, Kiri Kermode's here, Finlay MacLeod and Andy Bass. And by the way, after Mannin Line today, just before 1 o'clock, I don't know whether anybody's told you, but we're 60 years old this year. Nobody's mentioned it. And there's an archive interview with Bob Tier, a traffic warden on the Isle of Man prior to World War II. He spoke to David Callister about the differences in the role compared to the modern day. That's after Mannin Line today. Ian Parsons, talking of recruitment, obviously labour force in agriculture is hugely important. How do you get people? How do people get into farming?
It's very difficult. It's such an expensive industry to get into, and the sheer costs involved, as Andy was talking about before, in plant and machinery, and the industry's, whilst I'm not saying it's not profitable, it's very cash short at the moment. Yeah. We saw huge rise of input costs during COVID, where farm gate prices didn't go up. They have caught up a little bit, but it's left the industry quite cash short. So therefore, there's not that financial reserves there within the industry, both for recruitment, for reinvestment, and for encouraging young people in, because it needs to be a profitable, viable industry to come into. And on the Isle of Man, we see such restrictions in our markets and a producer's ability to sell produce, like we keep going on about. Yeah. And with the exception of the Creamery, we've got 2 other processes that aren't totally functioning correctly for the industry, and it really is making the industry difficult, to be fair.
One problem with the agriculture industry, the farming industry, and this is right across countries, and that is the issue of mental health, Ian, and the fact that farming can be a depressing business to be in sometimes, and whilst farmers, the agricultural community, always keep a big smile on their face, we know the Young Farmers concerts, we know the Christmas tractor run and what have you, for some people this is really down.
It is. It's quite serious. And 2 weeks ago at the Southern Show, I've never had so many farmers come up to me that have left. In fact, 2 of them I contacted afterwards because I was really concerned about them. And most of that boils down to their ability to function as a business. We just can't react in the Isle of Man, and a lot of it boils down to financial pressures, financial constraints, and that ability to sell product, and that is ultimately what an awful lot of the stress has caused within businesses and with individuals in the farming industry in the Isle of Man.
What do you say to people, and I mean no names obviously, but what do you say to people are having a tough time?
Yeah, you try, obviously, as the Manx NFU, we're sort of linked up with Yellow Wellies, we're linked up with ILIS in different places. We're not qualified to try and help in that situation, but you try and signpost people the right way and just encourage them to talk. But as I say, I can't reiterate enough, most of it is just generally to do with financial pressure on a business, but probably more that sort of cash flow, And succession, people with concerns on succession and where the business is going to go forward, but until we can make it a vibrant, profitable, viable industry, it's hard to plan those sort of things as well.
Kiri Kermode, I mean, you're in the farming business, aside of your day job. You know all about this, and the fact that every farmer keeps a smile on their face, but some are hiding stuff behind, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very lonely job. I know that when I work at home, sometimes I work on my own. We're very lucky, it's a family business. There's 5 of us there, so there's lots to talk to. But I find that in my job within Isle of Man Meats, I will take phone calls just for a chat. You're very much a person at the end of the phone, very much like Ian. They just want to talk about the weather, the day-to-day running of things, just life, not necessarily about booking in livestock. So it is always great that you just check in with your neighbours and see how they're doing. Here on the Isle of Man, we're in a bit of a unique situation where if you're running low on cash in the UK, you can stick them in your stock trailer, take them to the local mart. We only have one mart, one abattoir, and then a ferry journey. The options are a lot less for routes to market, as Ian was saying. So that's why we need to make sure that we've got functionality within the processors and the outlets.
Whose job is that? Who's there to make sure that functionality works for the industry?
We have to work together. I keep saying it. Collaboration, as in the whole industry, DEFA, NFU, other processors, Isle of Man Meats. We have to come together to find a solution and a way forward. We're talking about road haulage equivalency with the ferry company. We all need to come together and find ways that work. This backbiting isn't working at all.
I mean, Brian Thompson at the Steam Packet said, nobody's come to talk to him about.
I don't know. I've not been within those groups.
Ian's got something to say.
I would just like to contradict that, because I've spoken to 2 hauliers who both contacted him wanting to sort of, the regular users on it. This is transporting livestock, and they absolutely got no buy-in.
So what does the industry want the Steam Packet to do?
It's all about that ability to sell produce, isn't it? Whether we're talking livestock, whether we're talking vegetables, whether even helping process, like the Creamery export a lot of stock product. We've recently commissioned a report. It's the most expensive piece of water to cross. It's quite apparent that certainly with livestock, it's by far the highest tariff that's paid on the boat. That initially it would be a massive benefit to the industry, even if we were offered what other people on or other businesses on the Isle of Man are already offered. That could possibly halve.
How much are you paying in excess? 10%, 20%, or what?
Well, it's like a livestock wagon. There's a massive amount of real top quality breeding stock on the Isle of Man. We're TB free, BVD free, and there's great opportunities for selling breeding stock off the Isle of Man. Yeah. But just the boat ticket alone to take that wagon out is towards £5,000. And that's something that if a business across, they would just load it up in the wagon, pay £250 and drive down the road. And you have to understand, our input costs as an industry on the Isle of Man are all based on the equivalent those of the UK. We're also working at a smaller scale, so therefore we're less efficient. So to have those sort of costs access in our marketplace, restrictions in access in local markets, whether it be through processors, like restrictions in getting in, at the moment, if we decide to enter cattle into the meat plant, it would be 8 weeks before we'd see that money into the business. Kiri's doing a great job at sort of trying to organise stock coming in. But ultimately, until we can get that product on shelves and work with, the meat plant having the product that the consumer requires, we don't produce enough on the Isle of Man to feed the Manx people. So we should have a fantastic marketplace at home, but just through ways that isn't happening.
Finley's got something to say.
That additional cost of transport off island filters all the way through the industry. A classic example is with ourselves. Last year, we had a number of conversations for the UK multiple, and we got to a stage where they absolutely loved the idea of putting up Manx milk onto their shelves in the northwest, and they loved the idea of plant-based cartons, and they loved the idea of grass-fed which is a real credit to the farming industry on the island. But as soon as we would drop from full loads and full pallets, that became absolutely prohibitive in terms of the costs of transport to their northern depot. And just to give you rough figures, we talk about here roughly a couple of £1,000 to get a trailer across to the UK and back, whereas farmers in Orkney, similar island, is about £400. So we're talking a tiny fraction of the costs. And I think that the steam packet are doing their job. They are there at the moment as an arm's length business, making a profit, and they're doing a good job of it. But is that at the expense of other areas of the Manx economy that could benefit from lower costs? Now, I'm not criticising Steam Packet at all. They are doing their job that they've been given, and it's whether or not they would be given a different job and the task more focused on helping the wider economy, right from the primary industries like agriculture and fishing and manufacturing, or is it just a standalone profit-making machine? And I think that is a political decision in terms of the direction for the Steam Packet.
Okay, point taken. Andrew Corrins here from the show president here today. That's right, isn't it? Show
director.
Show director.
Yeah.
So who runs the Royal Agricultural Show?
It's the Royal Manx Agricultural Society.
Okay.
And we're a non-profit making charity, and our sole purpose is the promotion of agriculture in the Isle of Man. And probably along the lines of what's been getting discussed here, finance is a big thing for us. We're non-profit making, but we've got to make enough money to keep going. And the show itself has expanded outside of just promoting agriculture. If you look around and see the trade stands here, we have different businesses and things here, but that's to bring money into supporting agriculture through what we do. And at the moment this year there's only 2 outlets for promoting food and agriculture in the Isle of Man. Unfortunately, the Food and Drink Festival isn't going ahead, but this is a great opportunity to promote everything we have produce-wise in the Isle of Man. Okay,
what's your view on this ice cream story?
That's the reason I want to come on today. There's been a lot of, on all media channels and social media, there's been a lot of noise about Gelato not being able to attend the show. I mean, we would love for every producer to be able to come to the show, but unfortunately for financial reasons, we have a contract over a fixed period with Ian Davidson and Davidson's Ice Creams for providing ice cream on the show. That contract runs for another year after this year, at which point the tenders will be up for the ice cream. I mean, there's been a lot of debate over gelato isn't ice cream. From our point of view and the consumer's point of view, they use the product the same. So we don't want to cross over with that.
Okay. Well, as you say, there's been some words crossed on social media about all this. I mean, you have a commercial agreement with Davidson's, right? And it's an exclusive agreement, yeah?
Yeah. So we just have one supplier on the show field for ice cream. I mean, so their contract runs out next year. So after that, we'll be running a tender process again for anybody to apply. I mean, it might be up for debate how we actually run that tender process, whether it's exclusive in the future, but outside of what the sponsorship and the contractual money that we get off Davidson's, they provide us a lot of other services, and it's not just what they provide here on the day. We actually have the winter stock show, which Ian Davidson supports as well. So it's more than just what you see here today. It's the broader picture and the help that he provides us with that. So we're happy to try and include everybody, but unfortunately, due to some circumstances, we just can't go outside of what we've got at the moment.
Okay, we're live at the Royal Manx Agricultural Show at Knockaloe, and back in a moment.
In beautiful Silverdale Glen Ballasalla, find your perfect home away from home at Trail Lodge.
Once a working watermill, the 300-year-old Silverdale Corn Mill now plays host to Trail Lodge, offering boutique accommodation in a truly historic setting all year round. Whether you're after a tranquil staycation, fun family weekend away, or a group base camp for more active adventures, Trail Lodge is the destination for you.
Trail Lodge, Silverdale Glen, Ballasalla. Visit traillodge.im or search Trail Lodge on Facebook. It's time to start enjoying the garden. And from barbecues to garden furniture and machinery, tools and plants, Riley's Garden Centre has everything you need. Call Road Braddon and rileys.co.im or follow them on Facebook or Instagram.
Go al fresco in style with the Lifestyle Furniture Garden and Outdoor Collection. Discover our hand-picked range of gorgeous corner, dining, lounge and bistro sets, plus outdoor bars and fire pits, all with free delivery island-wide. For truly great outdoors, browse online at lifestylefurnitureplus.com or explore the garden and outdoor marquee at our main showroom, Snuggford Trading Estate, Union Mills. Lifestyle Furniture. It's everything your garden's been waiting for.
Come and celebrate Manx life with 2 fantastic days of fun and entertainment at the Royal Manx Agricultural Show. This Friday and Saturday, bring friends and family and see all the best livestock on the island. Alongside shows and demonstrations, a huge selection of food and drink stalls, craft and trade exhibitors, and so much more. The Royal Manx Agricultural Show 2024, Knockaloe Farm, Patrick. Open 9:30am to 5:30pm both days with ample free parking. Find us on Facebook or visit royalmanx.com for more information and to buy your tickets today. In association with Manx Telecom and supported by IFGL and your nation station Manx Radio.
For the first and only time this month, FC Isle of Man return to home soil this weekend for match day 3 of the new NWCFL Premier Division season. The Ravens host Longridge Town at the Bowl on Saturday night, with the Island side hoping to push on after earning their first win of the new campaign last time out. Join me, Rob Pritchard and Tony Mepham for FC Isle of Man versus Longridge Town, kicking off this Saturday at 6pm. Manx Radio will be providing full live match commentary on our DAB and AM 1368 channels. Live coverage of FC Isle of Man on Manx Radio is supported by Selton, investing in our community.
This is the Mannin Line on location.
Today it's at the Royal Manx Agricultural Show in Knockaloe. Come and get your Jenga on. The Manx Radio stand's got giant Jenga, whatever that is. Andy Bass is with us from Conister Bank, and you mentioned the fact, that we're getting along at the moment, that the business is okay. How's Conister Bank in general? How's business?
Conister's very busy. We seem to have a good market share on the Isle of Man. We're serving a number of different sectors. We entered into the sort of digital, totally part of the digital transformation. Yeah. Most of our applications and business is now written online, probably 70%.
Now that didn't have to be so. I mean, the branching out from Conister Trust, it may not have worked. How come Conister Bank seems to be going from strength to strength?
I think we do quite well with our brand. We put people into the market. We have good relationships across the island, whether it's in agriculture, construction, various sectors. I think we've just tried to make ourselves a go-to company, be fair and be transparent.
Again, one of the things we get on Mannin Line is people trying to phone bank helplines that are in Jersey or Guernsey or here, there and everywhere, but people can actually come in and see people.
They can walk into branch on Victoria Street. We don't have a call centre. There's a receptionist there, and 9 times out of 10 you'll be able to get to speak to the person you want to speak to.
Okay, Scott Gallagher from DEFA, is this your first Royal Show?
This is my first Royal Show, coming up for 11 months on the island, and absolutely loving it.
Have you spotted the kind of key things that DEFA has to do now?
It has been very illuminating since I started, and the key thing for me is we have to be listening. We have to be really listening and making sure that we're partnering with our stakeholders, not presuming anything. And I think what really resonated with me, and it resonates all the time, but particularly what Kerry was talking about, is fundamentally for us it has to be collaboration. It has to be all of us working on these issues together, because we cannot solve the big issues that are in front of us in terms of the agricultural sector in isolation. We have to do it together.
And the department's focus on this. I mean, obviously we've heard, dire predictions about the state of agriculture on the Isle of Man. Is the department aware of that?
Absolutely. And look, I pride myself. I am out and about. I'm talking to farmers and all stakeholders on any given day. I get out and about. My staff, I ensure, are getting out and about. I need to make sure the department is out across the island, listening and understanding all of the issues and questions people have, and fundamentally it's about us working with people for a better future.
Okay, you were in New Zealand before, weren't you?
I was.
How much better than New Zealand lamb is Manx lamb?
Absolutely better.
Bill Dale from Beach Buddies as well. Cleaning up tomorrow, Bill. I just want to come back to plastic, and that's where you started with the dog on Ballaugh Beach. How on earth is the Western world and everybody else going to wean themselves off plastic? What is the future when you see the Yangtze River and the Ganges full of plastic? How on earth? We make a big contribution. It's almost a spiritual contribution, but how can you get this message out?
In countries like India and the Far East, you only need to look online to see the state of the rivers and the beaches. It's just unbelievable. But, collectively, we're talking today about why aren't we doing things together? I've said that ever since day one of starting Beach Buddies. Why don't we all work together and start trying to do something and become a hero on your own? What's the point? The whole thing is the planet is in a mess. In terms of plastic in the oceans, collectively, it's never discussed. I'm listening to, I follow the American politics a lot. The matters about the environment and in the debate at the moment leading up to the election are zero. They're all talking about money. And it's crazy. We've got to start thinking in a different way about the beautiful planet that we're giving. In the Isle of Man, we're very fortunate. We do care about what we've got here, and we look after it. And Beach Buddies is an example of that, along with the Wildlife Trust and people like the Whale and Dolphin Watch. And we talk to each other, which is unique as well, because most charities operate on their own, don't want anything to do with the other one. They look on them as a rival. What's the point? It doesn't achieve anything.
What's the website, Bill?
It's a new one. It's beachbuddies.org.im, and it's being revamped at the moment. It's the same as it's been for a while at the moment, but we're in the middle of a brand new website, and it'll be well worth looking at in a couple of months' time. It's something really, really special.
Okay, beachbuddies.org.im. Okay, Finlay McLeod from the Creamery as well. Finlay, I know you've always got something new up your sleeve. So what's the next big thing for the Creamery?
Well, the next big thing is new customers in the UK and the US, but I think in terms of products, I think people have been delighted to see the Druid Ale back on the shelves, and it's available here today at the show, as is a fabulous offer on our cheese goodie bags. We've also got some lovely strawberries and cream and various other special offers at the show today, and we'll continue kind of innovating and making sure that we continue to serve the Manx consumer in the very best way we possibly can.
Do you dream about milk, Finlay?
I bathe in it. That's why I look so young. No, I would just like to take the opportunity to thank the Manx consumers for their continued loyalty in buying Manx products. We're very, very grateful for that, and there's 90 people who work at the Creamery who work very hard at ensuring that they've got a fabulous quality of product, and it's delivered reliably, and it's safe and consistent. And thank those 28 dairy farmers on the island who give us a fabulous raw material to work with.
Who came up with the idea for the oregano cheese?
I am far too modest to say that, Andy.
Well, very good idea. Kiri Kermod's here from the meats, and again, for the future, Kiri, we've heard a mixed picture as well. What's the outlook for the meat plant?
We have to find a way through. We have to make it work for the island's farmers. It's absolutely critical to island's farming people, but also to the smallholders that make their own products. It's a service for them to get their products back as well. We have to find direction and collaborate, and we want to thank all of our customers, our butchers, our retailers for the support that they have given us through over this year. It's been a really rough road, and hopefully it will improve and progress.
Okay. Final word with Ian Parsons from the Manx NFU. We take what you say, everybody hears what you say, and everybody hears about what's happening in agriculture. With your hand on your heart, Ian, how do you think things are going to go?
I'm really, really concerned about the industry at the moment, I have to say, but we just got to urge everybody to support local produce. I wasn't exaggerating when I said if we don't use it, we'll lose it. There's some great products all showcased around this show field today, in various different forms, and I just urge everybody when they're shopping to ask for Manx, and if those retailers aren't stocking it, ask them why. And also, politically, we need a greater political will. Government's the biggest feeder of people every day on the Isle of Man, and if they took a lead and made sure that everything they fed was locally produced when available, when in season, then that would be a great start. And our politicians need to realise this beautiful landscape we look at around the Isle of Man is as a result of what this industry does.
Okay, when you say government procurement, what do you mean? Government to buy Manx spuds or what?
Well, government's the biggest feeder of people every day in the Isle of Man. If we take the schools, we take the hospital, we take the prisons. Well, if they took the lead and made sure everything possible was Manx, we're giving away spuds up there today because they can't be sold. But I would like to question: are all the potatoes in all the schools in the prison are they all local?
Well, you're saying that they're not all Manx.
They're probably locally sourced, but there's a big difference between locally sourced and locally produced.
So if government, I'll go back to this, if government bought Manx spuds, the potato growers will be safe?
It's hard to say safe, but it would be a step in the right direction, wouldn't it?
Okay. Andrew Corran, finally, it's director of the show. Tell us, you must be happy with the weather anyway.
Yeah, well, what we need is fantastic weather. The sun's out. Everybody that's listening, get yourself down here to Knockaloe this afternoon or tomorrow and see the best that the Isle of Man's got to offer.
Okay.
Produce-wise, all exhibitors, the best of the Isle of Man is here for the next today and tomorrow.
Okay. Are you in charge of next year's show, by the way?
Potentially, if I get asked again and brought back in. As long as I haven't made too much of a disaster of it this year.
Well, everything seems to be fine today, and it looks like everybody's happy as well. I mean, how do you attract people to the show? Do they come to you, or do you go to them?
It's both. It works both ways.
The exhibitors, I mean.
Well, we reach out and they come to us. I mean, we have our regulars that are here every year, but then there's new ones each year. There's some fantastic machinery stands here that haven't been before. They're great to come. Even in the DEFA produce tent, there's exhibitors in there that haven't been to the show before, and then they've got the stalwarts that are here every year. So.
And whose land are we on at the moment?
This belongs to DEFA, so DEFA are our landlord here.
Okay. And how long does it take for the land to recover after what's happening here?
It'll probably, weather dependent, it'll take us probably up to 3 weeks to get everything packed away again. But then the sheep are put back on after 4 weeks.
Whose sheep are they, by the way?
The Gordy Clegg from down the road. So yeah, he puts the sheep back on, and yeah, so that's him for the rest of the year then.
Okay, and you're not in agriculture anymore, is that right?
No, unfortunately not. My heart's still in agriculture, but I don't work there myself anymore.
Okay. I would ask you, go on then, tell me the story about the wild garlic and the milk.
Well, I believe you've heard this one yourself, that we used to have the family farm used to be by the ferry bridge at Santon, and the cattle got into the wild garlic one day and tainted the milk.
Oh dear, nobody bought the milk then? You didn't have to drink it, did you?
It just put a different flavour to it.
Thanks for being with us today. That's Andrew Corran from the Royal Manx Agricultural Show. Thanks to Bill Dell from Beach Buddies, Ian Parsons from the NFU, Scott Gallagher from DEFA, thanks to Kiri Kermode from Isle of Man Meat, Finlay MacLeod from the Creamery, and Andy Bass from Conister Bank. That's it. Back with an open line on Monday from 12 midday. Remember, get yourself to the Royal Manx Agricultural Show. Judging day tomorrow. The weather's gorgeous, so make your way, drive carefully, and have a great time when you're here. Thanks to Nicola Holt producing today here live at Knockaloe, Chris Quirk on the production at Manx Radio at Douglas Head, and enjoy your weekend. Take care.
WINT. 60 years serving you as the nation station. This is Manx Radio.
Manx tourism is not what it used to be. Just before the outbreak of World War II, there were 16 traffic wardens in Douglas in the season. They didn't give tickets. They were there just to keep the traffic moving. That's horse-drawn traffic, sharras, charabangs, and pedestrians, as well as the relatively few private motor cars. Bob Tier was one of the traffic wardens.
Jubilee Clock was really had 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 roads converged.
Yeah, you had 5 conversions.
Yeah,
you see, you had 2 sides of the promenade.
Yeah, and you'd have horse trams to deal with as well.
You had horse trams as well to deal with. Yeah.
Well, they all get by very well now without traffic wardens. Why did they need wardens in those days? I mean, you were actually directing traffic, were you?
Directing traffic, solely nothing else but directing traffic.
Why did you have to do that? I mean, what was there so much traffic that they
there was so much horse-drawn traffic as well as motorised traffic.
Yeah. So you had to give the horse
priority of any steep inclines or things like that, or any heavy loads.
There wouldn't be many private cars, though, would there?
Oh, quite a number, but there was still taxis were starting to come in then, motorised taxis.
Yeah. Did you ever have any rows with any of the drivers?
Oh, quite a few now, here and there. And
what sort of things happened then?
Well, why should I be kept as long as this and waiting when you're letting all that traffic through? And it all depends. Sometimes you used to favour one road to get it clear, but they couldn't understand it. It was how you worked it for your own benefit.
There'd be a lot of people coming off the boats through that area as well, wouldn't there?
Well, that's where a lot of traffic was busy then. You had the buses going down to the boat, and you had the old arcade there at the time, don't forget.
Yes.
And the buses used to start off from there when the boat came in, and that meant the traffic was heavy coming from the pier.
Where did you stand at the Jubilee Clock? Were you out in the middle of the road?
Yeah, it's right by the Jubilee Clock, standing in a box.
And the Quarter Bridge, you said, was another point. Now, there's another area with a lot of traffic converging in from all directions.
Mm-hmm. It was easy enough to control from the centre of the road.
That would be where the roundabout is now, isn't it?
Where the roundabout is now, yeah. And the busiest days were Sunday morning, transport to Braddon Church, open air service, and pedestrians, because a lot of pedestrians used to walk it, and a lot used to go in shadows just for a ride, see.
Part of island life for 60 years. This is your Manx Radio.